remember doing a singing workshop in my local cultist branch. And I remember it because I really didn't want to do it. And basically for those workshops, they got different musicians in for each instrument, and then that's singing as well. And for some reason, singing's always like lower attendance. So basically the chairperson of the cultist came up to me and this other girl and was like, we weren't doing any of it. And she was like, you're going in there now, get in there now. And like basically forced us into doing this singing workshop with this woman. Who was incredible. Her name's Shauna McGargle and she's like class. But I just remember going in and being in absolute fear for my life. But then like starting singing the songs, I was like, wait a second, this is good crack. I think a lot of, because I have a big family, a lot of it would have been like just in the gaff doing like plays and shows. Specifically, I remember we used to, this is so random, we used to play a lot with this like ambulance, a lot of games like that. And we used to have this bodyboard that we use as like the stretcher. And I remember once my friend was over, we were like, you're going to be introduced to this whole world that we built and created. And we made her go on the stretcher and immediately broke because we obviously just been using it so much, like straight down the middle, and she fell to the floor.
I feel like your whole family is very creative.
Yeah, I feel like that was a big part of it, like being thrust into those things. Also, like, you know, my parents are both very good cooks, like being surrounded by like good food. And even though there were so many of us, like when we were younger, we started going on, we used to get the ferry to France like on holidays and stuff. And it was like, felt very exposed to a lot of like different cultural things without even knowing it, you know, which is really nice. And all my siblings were interested in the same stuff as well, which is cool.
And so how then did you end up studying acting in college?
My parents always say, and I remember this actually, I started doing, so embarrassing, I started doing this like Smeagol, like Gollum impression in the kitchen. And I would do it for, apparently I did it for like weeks, and they were like, okay, we're going to get her into like a theatre class. And that's how it happened. And there was one in Laois that I did for a few years, but then it got like cancelled. And my granddad lived in Dublin, so they used to send me up to Dublin on the weekend to do like a performing arts school kind of thing. And that's how I got into it. So funny. I was such a little, like, it's funny because when I was in Laois, I think as well, I was so like, I am class and I'm a star. And then I went to Dublin and everyone was like that, you know, like everyone was so good. And I was like, God, it was like a pre-college experience, you know?
Did you just immediately like performing in that sphere? Okay.
I think it was something I was definitely always drawn to because I just did it in the house and around the house. And then when I was so upset when that school closed down, the performing arts school, because, and like it was funny because the guy who ran it was actually a bit mad and a lot of people were scared of him. And I actually think that's how it ended up getting closed down, because people stopped going. But I was so locked in. And also he could tell that he was like, it's not a whiplash situation, but like he was like, you know, a bit intense, but he was like, you're really good. And I was like, okay. And I did like, there is so much, you know, when someone tells you you're good at something, like especially when you're that young, it's like, well, why wouldn't I be doing this thing? Do you know? And it was kind of separate from school and separate from the friend groups I had there. It was like my own thing. And I think I really liked that as well, that I was like, this is like a separate me thing that I'm doing at a young age. Was really formative, probably. Yeah.
And so music, after being introduced to those initial classes, how did you then come to perform for others?
It was like to actually do, so trad was the main genre that I would have done as a kid, because when we moved to Laois, there was a cultist branch down the road. So the natural thing is like go to those classes, learn the tin whistle, maybe move on to another instrument. And when I first did it, it was funny because in terms of like instruments, I was a really nervous performer, like even in the classes. So basically you had like these group classes where you'd learn a tune a week, and then the teacher would get one person to play the first part, second person play the second part, and go down the line. And that used to freak me out. Like I hated it because I hated being seen in that way or something. And also obviously at that age, it's kind of more so about like building that technical ability. That was something I was just so nervous all the time to do that. I never got that with singing, which is funny. Like I never got that same set of nerves.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's like, I actually think it's a bodying it thing. I think because like obviously your voice comes from within you. It was something that like I felt so assured of, that was so integrally part of me. And I guess because of that performance style as well, like, and singing, maybe it was the solo thing as well. Like I did choirs and stuff, but it was something that I did on my own. And like I felt a lot more in control even though when I was younger, I used to do silly ornamentation and, you know, singing English accents when I was singing a cover by an English artist and all that crack. But like, it was like my own kind of world there. And I felt really exposed when I was playing an instrument, maybe because it was like this separate thing from me. It's like an extension. And you're hearing everyone else play the tune so well. And I just like, I didn't think I was bad, but I just used to crumble under the pressure of having to play in front of people, which is strange.
It's a good point. Like if you're playing in a line of people and like you're playing an instrument, it's all going to be the instrument sound.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're singing, it has to be different.
It has to be different, and your voice will probably be different from everyone else's. And like it can still be critiqued, but it is just different. And like in those classes, the parents were allowed to sit in as well and stuff. And I just like the whole thing felt not like, it wasn't like Dance Moms per se, but I think I built it up into this thing in my head that was way bigger.
Right.
Like if I could go back and be like, just relax. Like, and also if you're bad at it, it's fine. You know, if you play the tune bad, it's done. And it's like another thing got away from you. Like you just need to chill a little bit.
Yeah. Do you think there's something like, because obviously I never had singing lessons or anything like that, believe it or not. Like,
oh, really?
No, yeah.
Cool.
But is there something like when you're younger that, are you taught in a way that's like, this is good singing and this is bad singing? Because I feel like fucking Cameron Winter or whatever, like weird voices are back. Do you know what I'm saying?
Weird voices are so back. I think in some places, yes. I don't think I was, because when I started singing trad, it just kind of sort of happened. And then I had really natural ornamentation as a kid. It was something I needed to be taught to control. Like all the trills and like the rolls and everything, I would just be doing them like way too much. So I kind of had to be taught to control that. I was very lucky with the teachers I had. Like it was all about learning to tell stories and to embody the songs. I think that's one of the things when you're learning traditional Irish or Sean-nós singing is a big thing, because you're telling stories. It's a cappella, like it's so personal. And I was really lucky to have a teacher that really focused on that. And I think because I was a performer in other ways, that was really helpful. But it was funny because I did music. I think it's because I did musical theatre and other genres. I'd compete in the FLA, in the solo singing, and I'd kind of be told that I was good most of the time, but I was like too modern, or like you're doing this too intensely, or you're doing this. And that was, I think it's kind of hard when you're a teenager, because like those are such natural things. Like they're not about the technique or anything like that per se. It's more so you're not doing it right. It sounds nice, but you're not doing it right, you know?
And is that because there's a real sense of this is the tradition, don't deviate from it?
Yeah, it's kind of a mix of things, I think, because it's like this is the tradition and it's something that's passed down. But one of the really cool things about traditional music is a lot of it is passed around like hourly or orally. So you're learning it on the go. And that means that it automatically changes a bit from person to person. Like even with tunes, sometimes like a note might change, or there might be different versions of songs. So it's kind of a mix, because I think there's a lot of people I think it's important to maintain the tradition, and there's so many tunes, but like people are still building on that, which is really cool. It's like a kind of mix of both, but you have to be, some people don't like that. You know, some people want it to stay and feel very strongly about it being what it is, which is kind of funny to me, because I feel like it's a constantly moving thing. It's constantly changing and constantly like being exposed to new things.
It's almost like you're just a vessel for this music. It's supposed to like, this is you are the point of it or whatever.
That's kind of what it feels like. It's just you're a person whose purpose is to get it to someone else or to a new audience. You're only like transferring it around. Yeah, I like that.
And is there a difference for you, like emotionally or otherwise, when you're performing in Irish versus in English?
Yes, for me, because I'm not a Gaeilgeoir, like I'm decent at Irish. But it's something that I'm like trying to improve on as well. But when I'm singing in Irish, I sing to a lot of English audience as well, because the trad band that I tour with is based in England. And so we do one or two songs in Irish. And it's a really funny experience doing that, because I feel like simultaneously I'm performing to a whole crowd, but I'm completely on my own, like completely in my own word. No one really understands what's going on. But like, sometimes that can be more special than, you know, like say with even recently, like the Bad Bunny Super Bowl performance, and I don't speak Spanish, but I was watching it and I felt so much emotion from that.
Yeah.
Even though I couldn't understand what he was saying. But singing in Irish, it's something, I think it's such a special thing. It's such a important community-based thing as well, and like something to be maintained in sessions, and something that I'm really working on to try to do more as well. Because sometimes also there's words, you know, in Irish and things that don't translate. Because there's some songs, traditional Irish songs, that have Irish and English versions.
Yeah.
And so at the moment, like I'm trying to go back and learn the Irish ones if I know the English ones. But I think it's a really intimate thing because it's already intimate, but singing in Irish, it feels like a bit of a secret sometimes.
It's interesting how, as you said, the heavy point of traditional music is often the storytelling element of it.
Yeah.
But then when you're singing in Irish to an English-speaking audience, that whole part of it is sort of stripped away, and in that moment it gets flipped on its head. And I'm imagining for an audience, it's all about your individual performance of it, you know, because what else could they...
What do people get out of it?
Yeah.
It's just that, or when that's all you're supposed to. And I also often think about it when we're doing those gigs. I'm like, does anyone go and look this song up or like think further about it? Think about the language? Yeah, I don't know.
I suppose in that way, ironically, when you can't understand it, it might actually encourage you to do what you're saying and think more about it, you know, go off and research it. And if you do, you'll probably get a more direct insight into how poetic it is and how deep the meaning can be with only a few words. Do you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, I feel like we miss that sometimes with English. Like, and in certain ways, like it's a different kind of like expression of myth and folklore and stuff like that. Or like, I don't know, like you can get, it's almost like a more abstract painting that you can get more out of with less than like English is so direct, I feel.
I think because like we have so much, it's obviously from being colonized, all this stuff and all this trauma, but like it simultaneously creates so much heart in everything we do and so much meaning with such little things. With the band, I remember over the summer when we were recording the album, Michael D. Higgins had released the first track from his album. And I was just playing it in the kitchen. And it was like, so I was like, my president, you know, but they were like, because two of them are English, two of the lads are English. And they're like, one of them was like, I just feel like we produce beautiful poetry and all these beautiful things, but there's like a certain thing that we can't access that you guys have access to. And like, it's not even a thing that you can necessarily paint, I feel. It's just an understanding of something that we all share, that they can't get through to in that poetry. And that like, that love for the land and that love for the people, that we were kind of like, in a way we were kind of forced to feel it. We were forced to like gather ourselves and be so united and together. You have to kind of go through that. Even if we're not ourselves going through it, through generations, we felt it, which is a crazy thing.
It's such an ingrained way of being that we feel the need to constantly express or something. There's like this underlying magic in the way we communicate with one another, you know? And I mean, beyond just language, like more so how we are with one another, that weirdly like perfect mix of being deeply philosophical and sincere, and then also always looking for the humor. I think, you know, as you say, it's a hard energy to pin down. But just to bring it back to your music specifically, how do you like to describe or classify the music you make now? Like, that hasn't just stayed in the realm of traditional, has it?
No. The solo music that I do, especially like the EP is obviously out, but the stuff that I've been doing live over the last year, it's definitely folk. It's more contemporary and like experimental. I think it's hard for me, and it's not a thing I want to do either, to fully detach from trad. Like, I don't think that's something that will ever happen, because my vocal, I love to channel the emotiveness that I feel when I'm singing those songs in songs that I've written. And obviously because I play the harp as well, it's all there. And it's not something that I think, I don't intentionally try to shy away from it, but I also know that the songs that I'm writing are not solely that by any means. They're just more modern, aren't they? They're a bit more modern and like kind of just in that flow of trying to still want people to engage with that music, with trad music, but also creating something new. Yeah.
Incredible. And talk to me about the harp as an instrument. How did you find your way to that and start playing it?
So it's all about the coldest branch. They got a grant and they bought 2 harps, and anyone that went to the school that wanted to play them got like basically put in a hat, and I got picked out of the hat. So I got to have it for a year for like a deposit. And the only condition was that I had to play in the like group competition at the end of the year. I had to do a solo. So that was a bit of an anxious way to start, because there was already like a pressure, which is interesting. But I had a crazy like time playing the harp. I went to a classical teacher first for like a few weeks, because the teacher that they normally sent people to was away. And the classical teacher, she was great, but she was like, there's no way you're going to be able to do this, because you'll have to skip technique and you'll have to do all these things. And they were like, right, not going to her anymore. So I started going to this girl called Ciara Ryan, who's amazing. She's daughter of Sean Ryan, who's a member of Danann, like one of the original kind of Irish bands. And it was wild because it was in this castle in Tipperary called Left Castle. And it like there used to always be, I'd go on a Saturday morning for lessons, and there used to always be like ghost hunting documentary crews in the house. Like it's one of the most haunted places in Europe.
That's crazy.
And she had like a little dog called Puka, which is Irish for ghost. And it was like but it was so normal to me. It's funny when you experience those things with no other experience, because the first time I went, I was like, whoa, but then I was like, this is just my life now. This is where I go.
So funny.
Music. And so that's how I got into it. And I just, at the start, it was like, so when I started going to her, it was learning tunes for that group and just learning tunes. And I really enjoyed that. Like, because I think that's a big part of the learning process, is just like pick a tune, learn it, figure out what you're doing wrong or what you're doing right, and go with that. And I loved that time. The Group of Cool stuff was stressful. I think it affected me in terms of like again, what I was saying about those solo playings and stuff like that. There was a while with harp where I was never as confident as it with my voice, but I had this like fear of not sounding perfect. And when I did competitions, I had a great teacher after Ciara called Siobhan Buckley, and she's incredible. She has like 1 million students in Leash. It's madness. And she really settled me in terms of being like, going into the competition and being like, you know, you're just as good as everyone else. You just get nervous. And it was only in a competition setting. Like if I was doing a live performance that wasn't competition related.
Graded.
Yeah, I never had that. And I just used to like get so nervous, but she really helped with that. And like, I think I was around maybe 15, 16 when I started going to her. I started to really build my confidence on like playing harp. But yeah, mainly trad growing up was what I was learning. I still did some like classical bits here and there, or just like more contemporary bits. But yeah, that's kind of how it started.
How did you find the experience of like then folding that into the music that you were writing?
Oh, like incredible. I did a bit of it in college. So like I didn't really start properly on like my solo music journey until like the last 2 years. But in college I used to do some society events and like little bits. And I loved it because it's kind of this more playful thing, because you're starting from scratch, you know, on both vocally and with the instrument. And then in the last like 2 years, 3 years, something that I've really tried as well, when I moved away, or when I was in college, I actually wasn't playing as much. So I kind of got out of the habit, but now I'm getting back into it. And it's also kind of like remembering the importance of, you know, you don't have to be perfect at it. It's not always going to sound good, and that's good. And also something that I love with the harp is it just always sounds great. You could do anything, and it's like the resonance of it. You could like clashing notes, anything like that always sounds incredible. And I normally, when I'm writing, I normally come up with a melody and lyrics simultaneously, and then like weave in the harp with that.
What do you mean simultaneously? Like as you're...
They come into my head, I think of a tune and a lyric at the same time.
Oh, wow.
So like it's rare that sometimes I'll write down like a line of something and be like, oh, remember that for later. But when I start writing a song, normally it comes together with the melody.
Wow.
At the same time. The lyrics very rarely come to me without music in my head already. So like I'll sit down and normally with songs as well, it's rare that I don't write a full song in like one sitting. And then I'll come back and edit it, but I'll sit down and I'll like sing the whole song as I'm writing it. And then it'll change. But I'm trying to do it with guitar now as well a bit. But like with harp, I'll just sit down and I'll do something really simple and then I'm trying to get more kind of complex with harp things I choose. But my songs are very melodically heavy already. So a lot of their arrangement sometimes has to be a bit lighter. But yeah, that's normally it. And I just like will sit and do all three at the same time. It's kind of like you're in like this zone. I don't know even what it is. It's not even that I'm so locked in that I'm not sensing things around me, but it's all just happening at once, and then it's done and I look at it and I'm like, okay. And now we go back and we figure it out.
Is that the trad influence in terms of the mechanical aspects of how you're approaching the song, and where you've sort of trained in a manner that's like the song is so mapped out and the music is so intrinsically linked to the words, where it has to be sung like this, and it's so precise in terms of how you're hitting certain beats along the way? Like,
and I think it comes as one thing. Like normally when I was learning, it's the same as probably any genre, but like Siobhan used to always, with harp, she used to always play the tune, then teach the tune by ear, and then she'll give you the notation to go home with. I think that's such a good way to do it. You have to watch and be present. Like you're not looking at a sheet the whole time, like figuring it out. You're like I'm watching her and listening to her. And I think that's kind of like when I'm writing, it's kind of the same thing. I'm like paying so much attention to all the elements at once, or trying to.
And do you think with harp you're really encouraged to pay that close attention? Because I mean, it seems like to me it's an instrument that demands your whole body.
That's a big thing for me. I like feeling like it's an extra limb when I'm playing. That's not something that's separate. Because a lot of the songs that I sing as well are like laments and very emotive. And I like when it feels like it's part of me. I think that's the thing that sometimes can be a downfall of mine, is I choose not to do things too technically. Sometimes it's a good thing, but I choose not to do things too technically complex because I want to be so present. I don't want to be having to hone in and focus on that. But that's just practice. And eventually, like, that'll keep building for live performance. It'll get more complex and it won't be noticeable necessarily by an audience. But yeah, it's like, it's very important to me, especially when I'm doing solo stuff with harp and just vocal, that like it feels like one thing. But it's the same when I'm playing with a band. I love playing with a band that we all just feel like we're moving together with something that's really locked in, but it's so subconscious at the same time. It's just happening.
Just on that, you were obviously playing with the band, the harp band, before you stepped out on your own. What was the mindset behind taking that step?
So I had like a few songs that I just kind of had that I'd written during college, and I moved to Berlin. I was there with some friends, and this guy called Dan de Burke, his uncle has a studio over there. He's a producer. And the reason I moved to Berlin was because I wanted to have the time to focus on music. And then I got there and immediately got a job because I was panicking. And then I was like, wait, what are you doing? You know? And so basically, I think he put up an Instagram story and my friend was like, we should just go record with him like in tomorrow, like, or the next day. That's when he's here. And so it was kind of that snap into action, because I think you can spend so long sitting on stuff. Like it's not even like I was finessing things. I wasn't like sitting there being like, this isn't right yet. I just wasn't doing it. Like it wasn't. And it was out of a fear, I think. But sometimes you just need like people around you. I was lucky to have people around me that gave me that push to be like, just get into the studio and like do something. And like, because right now, like, I love that body of work, but everything has changed so much since putting that out.
Right.
But without that, there would be absolutely nothing. There would be nothing. And that process really gave me the confidence to actually pursue music properly in a solo aspect, you know?
It just shows how important taking action can be. And, you know, like, it's supposed to be an evolution, like you say. Listening to the EP when it came out, as I said to you, it felt so sure in what it wanted to be. But that just means that now I'm on the road with you, the artist. Like, I'm excited to see where you go next, you know?
Yeah, it still feels, I like to think, and then maybe it'll change in a few years, but I don't think I'll ever take the EP down. Do you know, I don't think I'll ever like hide that I did that. It was such a formative experience of doing, like, it's also so important to learn how to make decisions, like, and stick by them. And you can hear them later and be like, God, I wouldn't do that now. But you did that then. And that's what you did, you know? And that's fine. It's not going anywhere, and you can do something different again. And I think that's kind of what's happening now. It's like trying to, like, sometimes I'm in the car with a friend and they'll put on the EP and I'm like, oh, and then I'm like, no, like, I listen to it when I'm on my own and I love it. Like, why is it when I'm with someone that I'm suddenly like, and I play the songs live? Like, you have to just, like, and it sounds great. It's just this weird kind of thing, because that's not what I sound like anymore. Sometimes when I hear it, I get in two minds about it, but it's like, it sounds good.
Yeah.
It's such a basic thing to say. I mean,
no,
it sounds good.
It's great. I mean, I fucking love it. Like, I listen to it often. Like, and I've got the small little, like,
the flexi.
Yeah, the flexi there. Like, find it really interesting as well how, I don't know if there's a specific reason for this, but how most people, like, we know personally who create music, they all have such a distinct voice, almost like they've been able to express themselves in such an honest way immediately.
There's so much purpose on it, I think. And I totally agree. It's like when you listen to it, it sounds, and obviously I'm biased because I know the people, but I'm like, that sounds like that person. But they still feel they're doing something over there separate, and that's really cool. It is funny. It's like sometimes when I first started doing music stuff, I, like, you know, when you release something, you have to come up with, like, when you're sending PR things out to magazines or whoever, and you have to, like, be like, it's like this or it's like that. And I really struggled for a while to be like, because also it's actually a really big deal to then compare yourself to someone, or you can want to be or want to emulate things that other people do, but to actually be like, this is a person that I sound like, or this is a person that comes through in the music is like a huge thing to say, I feel.
Yeah.
Like for myself, I don't want to just throw names in there because they sound good. I'm like, I want it to make sense.
Yeah. I went through a similar thought process when creating this even. I kept, wanting to know what I was basing it off or what I could compare it to.
Yeah.
But I think there are definitely times to lean into the fact that, that isn't immediately clear. In fact, I think it's probably a better sign.
That's the thing. You're trying to find a gap in a genre, like find a gap in the market, I guess. Or like, does it have a hook? So when I put it on something like TikTok, will people engage with it because of the hook? And I hate that stuff.
Yeah.
I hate it. It makes me so, I saw someone talking about it recently, actually, about the recording process and how lovely and gratifying that is, and like that experimentation. And then you get to the stage where you have to release the music and suddenly it's like, like I can't do this because I'm marketing myself. I'm marketing things that like why is this the focus now? It's like what you were saying earlier before we started about putting stuff on a website or like pushing stuff on Instagram or socials and feeling like you have to, but then being like, what is this bringing to the work? And do I want people who find it in this way? Will they engage with it? Do I want them to engage with it? Will it be meaningful?
Yeah. It's also like that reverse engineered commercial way of thinking, I think, goes against making truly great, honest work, and I think like there's definitely a component of swapping hats depending on where you're at in the process. But I always think, like, say with a medium like film, it's easier relatively to swap hats between, say, like writer and director and editor, because they're all still creative roles, whereas swapping your hat from, say, artist to salesman is much more of a leap. Like, and especially swapping into the mindset of charging money for your work, and value it in that way. I think, because I really try to remind myself, like, this took a lot of work and it should cost money, but then at the same time being like, art should be free. Like, it's such
art should be accessible. Art should be easy to find. But I also have, it's a funny thing because I feel like that can go in such a skewed direction, because there are albums that I've listened to and the first time I listen to them, I don't like them. And I think I really try not to just sit in that and be like, right, that's it, done now. There's such a thing now where it's like, if I don't connect with something straight away, I'm out the door. And it's like, no, it should be a bit of work. You should be engaging with it.
Yeah.
Like, you should have to be present. I think that's the thing with streaming lately with me, that I really want to, like, I've been listening to a lot of albums because I want to listen to it and sit down. And it doesn't have to be the case always. I'm not like, everyone can enjoy things, but it's like, I want to sit down and I want to think about it. And then if I don't like it, I want to think about why I don't like it and not just be like, nah, not for me. Like, I want to be like, why is it that I don't like this?
Yeah.
Why is it that it's not connecting with me? And I feel like it's so hard to do that sometimes these days. I like all the time with my friends, I love talking about stuff, but it's like, everything moves so fast that we're not just like sitting with it and being like, what? And this, it changes you in a way anyway. Like, even if you don't like it, like, that changes something for you.
It's actually like the dual part of being an artist, where one half is creating and the other half is absorbing. And you can have an artistic experience with absorbing another person's art just as much as you can when creating your own.
Yeah.
And as you say, that part of interacting with something and not immediately knowing if you like it or not is kind of a common prerequisite to the stuff I often like fall deeply in love with, because it like challenges me and it offers up this experience that I guess can remain entertaining in the long term. And I think, wanting to do the work to engage with art on a deeper level, it seems to come around anyway for those who couldn't be bothered to do that, via culture anyway. Like, where, okay, might not be you sitting down to listen to the song again, but it will be your friend coming to you and being like, we're going to this gig, and you being like, wait, what is this? Why don't I get this? And I think that experience of being like, why don't I get this, is a spectrum of just like, it depends on how frustrating you find that, and I think, especially as someone who makes stuff, it really irritates me, but in like a sort of fun way, when I feel like I'm not getting something yet.
There's a curiosity to what it is, especially when other people are so obsessed with something, it really changes like how you engage with it as well, Like, if someone comes to you and is like, this is the best thing I've ever seen, you're going into it being like, well, this is the best thing they've ever seen, so I'm in for a performance. And that affects, like, maybe if you hadn't been told that and you watched it, you'd really like it, but you're like, this isn't the best thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I also think that major studios have just now completely hijacked that experience and gaslight us every time a film comes out by calling it the biggest film of the year, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so now I just don't believe any hype, which in a way is good, because then it has to come down to me and my opinion, which is the disarming thing about art too. I think, like, it took me a while to fully wrap my head around the fact that there isn't something more official than just how I feel about the thing.
Yeah. It's also like sticking to your guns. Like
Mm.
I used to have such a habit of being like, I really like this. And then like someone I respected or like was friends with would be like, oh, that's not good. Or I don't like that. Or why'd you like that? And then I'd never speak about it again. Or I'd be like, oh my God, this is embarrassing. Like, and it's like turning around when someone does that and saying like, no, I understand why you'd feel that way about it, but this is why I love it. This is why it's important to me.
Yeah.
It shouldn't change how you feel about it. And I think that's kind of feeding into like the issue with trends and hooks and all this stuff. And it's like we're all just being fed the same stuff over and over again rather than making the effort to curate things for ourselves.
Yeah.
And wanting to be, everyone simultaneously wants to be so different, but also has to like all the same stuff and watch all the same stuff and consume all the same stuff.
Yeah. It's a paradox of like community and then individual experience, which I find sort of speaks to that idea of like you say, really wanting to use your brain to engage with something, because it's all about, you know, everyone's own interpretation and then sharing that. And I think like art mediums that allow for more of that, like maybe poetry, for example, or lyric writing, because, you know, the brevity of it requires more of my attention, I think, to try and understand what's going on or understand what's being said. And I think, I mean, how do you write? What's your process there?
So with any of the songs that I'm kind of performing live right now, The Stream, which is actually one that I'm recording next week, is one I wrote when I was moving back from Berlin, and I basically just felt really overwhelmed about like moving back to Dublin with housing crisis and all this stuff, or moving back to Ireland generally, and I was like, this is gonna be horrible. And so like the immediate thought for me in that situation was to write a song that expressed that, but also was a bit of crack because I was trying to like decompress. So like I said, I'll sit down. Normally writing for me, I'm trying to get into a better habit. I think it's because now that I'm a full-time musician, I can and should dedicate specific hours and time to sitting down and writing and the writing process. And it's something I'm working on. But a lot of the songs that I'm touring or doing right now are songs that I just like came up with when I had a free moment or like had the time. So they are intentional, but they kind of just came out in this like vomit experience where I just like, I have to get this out right now. And now it's out and like I can deal with it now that it's on the page. And so I kind of like, I sit down normally, or try to sit. Sometimes, you know, you're walking around town, you're like voice note. But normally when I'm properly writing, I'll sit down, I'll play harp and sing through lyrics simultaneously, whether it's I record all the time because, you know, you could do something that's incredible and then forget it and it's all over. But I'll record and I'll write either notes app or book. If I didn't have recordings, like they're so like every single one of them is like, I think it's kind of comes from trad as well. Like I have to do that. Like I'm never just writing on its own. Like when probably so annoying, like when I'm in the streets and I'm like trying to not be self-conscious and be singing into my phone, or if I'm on the train or something, I'll just constantly be doing that. And so I try to get, if I have the time, I don't push it in the sense of like, I try to get a full draft of a song down. There's actually a few songs in the last few months that have been slower, but normally I'll have some kind of form to go off of, and then I'll leave it for like a day or two or more maybe, and then come back to it and be like, what were you saying? Because I find that when I'm writing a lot of the time, it is kind of this subconscious, like I don't necessarily know what I'm saying until it's on the page, if that makes sense. There's some that I'm like trying specifically to say stuff and they're a different process, but the ones that come most naturally to me are me being like, what the hell is going on in there? Let's get it out. And then I can see it as a full image.
Yeah.
So I don't start with a plan necessarily. I hear something in my head. And then it's just important to me to lay it all out and then work backwards nearly in a weird way.
I think any method that works to capture the rawest form of the idea without analyzing it is such an important thing to find. And I feel like that's, you know, the more you practice that and find discipline with it, I'm sure it's like,
it gets more interesting and better. I think it's funny now because I feel like it's gonna be, I think I'm in a more critical stage of like, I'm using the word my artistic practice because I was doing an arts council form yesterday. So that's what I'm thinking. So like my practice is kind of, now that I'm finally being able to dedicate time to sitting down and looking at it, the songs will become, they will just be stronger for me anyway. Like I will think they're stronger because I'm actually sitting down and I'm spending the time being like, does that work? Why doesn't that work? Is this the best way for it to sound? Who are you talking to? Is this just about you? What do you want the audience to feel when they listen to this? And with the songs for the EP and stuff, it was all about me in those moments. And I actually didn't spend too much time messing with things. I just kind of heard things and let it happen. And I think there's such an importance to that, especially when you're starting out like with a piece, but also not getting too attached to ideas from the very beginning, because sometimes something better will come along.
That's a great point. Yeah. It's another two-hander where it's like, don't hang on to something just because it's the first thing that came out, but also I find that it's important to try and trust in the initial feeling you got when you first had the idea and try to remember it, because that excited feeling will fade from my body over time. And I have to remind myself to not end up throwing away a good idea just because it's old. And I imagine maybe it's the same with songs. Like, how does it feel now when you're performing things you've written at different stages of your life?
Ooh, it's a great question. It feels great. I love live performance. I think it's where, like, I'm always like, if I get people in a room with me, like, I'm sorted. Like, that's all I need. I need people to see me perform, and then I know I can capture them. I can capture them. But I love performing live, especially with the band that I have now. I perform with 3 other musicians. My sister Izzy plays baron.
Oh, wow.
And then my friend Kate plays fiddle, and my friend Nisha is guitarist, and they all do a bit of vocals and other stuff. They're incredible. But I love that feeling of you have the attention of the room and you know you have it, and they're all there with you. Like, it's a shared experience, and then the musicians around you, I just feel so held at all times and feel so safe to express myself and be vulnerable or be angry or be confident. I think it is a place where I've really shown my strength when I'm doing live performance, like singing and playing and with other people. And I also just love being able to capture people in that moment and exist outside of everything else. You're just there, and it's so special. It's such a special thing. It's crazy. And I have a slight well, no, I like letting the musicians I play with do their own thing a little bit. So there'll be ideas and there'll be things that we always do. But I love when, like, Izzy does a different thing, or Nisha or Kate, like, does something that I maybe wasn't expecting. And I love looking across me like, wow, that was incredible. Like, for a class. Like, it's so good. It's so fun, but also really, like, it's just a really invigorating experience for me. I love it.
It's great. It's like the ultimate game in some sense. Like,
Yeah.
you're playing something that's just so fun with your friends, but yet it's like it's not just for like it's not just rules that you're trying to fulfill. It there's an emotional magic that's happening. Like,
That's exactly it.
as a point of it, it's great. I think also the nature of your music lends itself really well to like that experience of going to a different world almost. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes, that's not to say like certain genres don't do it, but like, it's so out of what maybe most people would consume on a daily basis. You know what I mean? Like, which is ironic because it's so traditional.
Yeah.
But it does feel like, how often are you going and seeing someone play a harp? Rarely ever. You
That's
know.
the thing.
And even the style of your music is so unique to itself, and like, I think, yeah, it definitely, because of what we said about the traditional music, and like the emotion of it, like it's such a different kind of emotion that I feel like isn't quite common. You know what I mean? Like, you can go in and see someone with a guitar and a ballad or whatever, or piano, and like, I'm not like that I'm not moved by that stuff, because I definitely am, but it's interesting to be moved by something that you're not used to.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a funny one, because I'm always like, with an audience, they can vary so much. You know, every performance is different. I'm always I try to be aware of how far I can push it or how far I want to push it. Like, there's one song I do on my own, which is harp, called I Won't Be. And it's like kind of relentless. Like, it's a relentless song. It's a true me just saying, I won't be waiting when you come back for me the whole time. And
Wow.
as the song goes on, it kind of starts like in a kind of softer form, kind of sadness. But by the end, it's me being like, I won't be here. Like, I'm not going to be here, in like a more upset anger kind of hysterical way. And like, I did it in the concert hall the other week, and I was like, whoa, we're in the concert hall. Like, I can go a bit nuts because the acoustics, and I hear it and it's echoing, and it's so important that it's heard in that way. But then, like, when I stopped, I was like, was that a bit much for this poor audience that's never seen me before? Like, they're gonna be like, you good? But you have to just go with that feeling in the moment as well. And I like that I make music that allows for change in the live shows, that allows for movement. And it's a really special thing to be able to give people that one-time experience. They're never going to hear it like that again. I'm never going to sing it like that again.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you ever think like when you're saying about writing and you're writing with like, multiple things are happening at the same time, like you're writing with the music and the lyrics are coming. Do you ever think, is there another aspect of you that thinks about this side of it, which is like how you're going to perform it, or like what the arc of a performance might be within one song? Like it should start out more like you say as this character and end as this character or whatever. Or...
Yeah, I think with a lot of the songs this year, and more so now, I love collaboration for that reason as well, because I think it's so easy when you're isolated to lean into something too early or too late, or not represent something like on its own for a second. It's like there's this moment that's happening, and it's like it's completely being distracted by all these other things happening around it. Why not hone in on that? And then you're telling a story, and it's like it builds or it changes. And I've started to try and think about that more when I'm writing, whether it be like with rhythmic stuff or melodic or with dynamics that I know that it's gonna get louder or quieter when I'm singing it. Because also I sing really dynamically. Sometimes I do too dynamically. I need to relax a bit. But it's like I like kind of enticing people and then maybe pushing them away, or the other way around, or like I like being, it's funny because I feel like it's not my personality at all when people meet me, but I like being really big and like giant and powerful on stage, and being like having that strength.
Yeah.
And it's like you do think about it when you're writing about how is this gonna, like, where is this gonna go, rather than just the music and the lyrics and the meaning. It's like it's also like how the meaning informs the performance, like, because sometimes songs, people do really contrasting things, like it's a really fun song but the lyrics are really sad. Sometimes the first few times you listen to it you're like, love this, and then you listen to it and you're like, Jesus, that's a bit brutal, isn't it? And why do that? Why is that the reasoning? And thinking about that, why not just make it a sad song? Why make it a happy song?
And so then beyond that, what would be the differences in production between the first EP and these new songs?
So I think I'm a lot more experimental now in terms of like when we're doing recording. Like me and Nisha did loads of sort of demos, or like, to be honest, they could be singles, they're kind of when you listen to them, we're like, this is actually class. Like trying to like hear different instruments that I may not have heard before. Because let's say like I've worked with a bodhrán, Izzy plays bodhrán, just my sister, like that's the drum that I've heard my whole life, and that's what I hear naturally in my head when I write my songs. But like, what does it mean to add a drum kit? Like how does that like serve the song? Does it serve the song? Trying to try things, but also knowing what's pushing it, knowing what might be too much, but also letting it be too much for a while.
Yeah.
So that you can then take it back,
Yeah.
and sitting with things for longer. I think I'm being more considerate. I just think my chops are bigger as well. I'm just like more like sure of myself and what I want to get across.
Yeah.
Also moving back to Ireland, it changed my style. Like it's more folky, I think, in aspects, but then also there's like more experimental stuff. I've just been engaging more in Irish culture since moving home, and like I said about the live performance, I can belt better, like my voice is stronger, so the songs just sound different because of that as well.
So it's sort of like both skill and having a more rounder sense of your voice that lends itself to being able to like reach out to these new areas and try new things.
It's also like not being afraid of it sounding bad, not being afraid of doing the wrong thing. It's funny because when I first started experimenting with instruments outside of what I was used to, which my basics would have been like harp, vocal, fiddle, cello, guitar, like that was kind of it, and then bodhrán. It sounds different, but it's just because you're not used to hearing it. It's actually like if you listen to it tomorrow, it'll make sense, Like we've started doing a lot of stuff with synths as well, and I was like, me and synths doesn't make sense, which is like a ridiculous thing. Because firstly, there's so many synths out there. Secondly, like it's just because it's not part of your world yet, but trying to figure out how to integrate it. And like, if it feels like it could work, which on some of the songs it really does, you'd be raging to not have tried,
Yeah.
I think it's also a thing now because I guess it's trying not to feel like you're wasting time, and seeing that time as valuable, seeing the time of the thing that was a bit weird and maybe not you. Why wasn't it? And like, where is that taking you next? Because I don't like wasting time. I hate that like as a thing, or it's like that was a waste of time. And it's like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Like, why was it a waste of time to do something that, taught you that you shouldn't do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's simple. Like,
Yeah. It shouldn't be a waste of time to experience something.
yeah, exactly. It's done. Like, why? Like,
Yeah.
even if you're frustrated by it, like, I'm really trying to do that of not being like, oh, like, why did you do that? Not being embarrassed
Yeah.
about stuff and just being like,
This time is passing anyway. Like,
you're here. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's going. It's
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's great. I think, is there anything else that like about your creativity or anything like that that we haven't touched on?
Oh, I don't think so. I think something that I'm working on at the moment, or that I just like to think about, is how important it is to not always sound pretty when I'm creating music, because other things will get the emotion across better. And I think I used to have a thing where I was like, I'm a girl and I have to, like, you know, be dainty and stuff, and I can be, and I like to be sometimes, but making sure that I don't shy away from, like, I guess it's like what we were talking about earlier with the Cameron Winter of it all. Like, he has an incredible vocal, beautiful, sweet, like, strong, but he chooses to sound in more like just like volatile or strange. It's kind of Tom Waits energy of the world. Like, and I think that's so important to remember that those things can carry value as well. Like, people like hearing like weird shit. Trying to do more weird shit. Even if you're scared, like, absolutely just do it. If you think that you don't have the ability, or that you're quote unquote not ready, or you're not a good enough guitarist for the song to work or anything like that, like, absolutely abandon that, because it's all about the audacity to just do it and get something out there. Because once you have one thing out there, it feels so much better and you'll be so much more ready to keep going.